minimized and you can see if anybody's in there asking questions. That's what I was saying. Yeah. That way it's not distracting with me on me. You something. Sure. I can't watch that.
I know.
Good.
It's like the mirrors on the wall. I'm taking a picture of.
Yep. Perfect. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, you guys are gonna have to talk to me today. I need you guys to participate. So who has their goals? Even if they're not written down, who knows what their goals are for 2025? Come on in. Y'all come on in, make yourself at home. Hi to everyone online.
Oh, I'm so done.
Really fired up about this today, if y'all cannot tell.
Got the 2025 energy.
I do. I love 2025 energy. I was on another Zoom this morning at 8:30 and everybody was talking about, for whatever reason, it just kind of feels nice to go, 2024 is over. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. The market was down over 40%. So anybody who didn't have the year they thought they were going to have in 2024, don't panic. The market was down 40%. So the fact that you're still here is a blessing in itself.
Yep.
Because for those who've been in the business as long as I have, a lot of these roller coasters make people get out of the business. So the fact that you're resilient and you're still here is a big thing. So give yourself some kudos for that first and foremost. So the reason I ask about your goals is if you don't have it written down, if you don't have a plan, it's essentially a wish. It's not a goal. It's just a wish. It's a hope and a dream, and we're going to hope it happens. And we are not in an industry that unfortunately allows for you to have a lot of time to hope and wish. We are an industry of action, and you have to take action every day in some shape, form, or fashion. So if you're like me and you have big, audacious goals for 2025, one thing I had to figure out was how to slow down to speed up. So I took a lot of time over the holiday break, and I have been doing the 12-week year study. Who's read this book already? 12-week year. Oh, good. Y'all are in for a treat. So it's actually a very good, easy read. It gives you a lot of tactical things, and there's also a lot of resources. So if you want to go to, let me find the website address. It's on here somewhere. The 12weekyear.com. They have a lot of resources on there. They can help you define what your principles of high performance are. They can help you, define what does accountability look like to you? What does commitment look like? And how are you going to celebrate your win at the end of the day? So I kind of skipped to the end there. So let's start back at the beginning. Does anybody want to tell me what accountability looks like to you? Does anybody love the word accountability? So one of my favorite coaches, John Sheplack, if you don't follow him on Facebook. He's got a bad mouth, but it's fine. Most coaches do these days, I reckon. But I met him several years ago, and he did this whole spiel on being a team leader and how important it was to love on your people and this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, I hope anybody that knows me, especially my teammates, will tell you I love my people. Anybody that knows me knows I love my teammates. I love knowing what's going on in their lives. I want them to be successful personally. I want them to be successful professionally. I love them. And so at the end of his spiel, his 2-hour spiel, I was sitting in, I was ready to meet him at the back of the room. And I was like, let me tell you what, I love my people. That's clearly not the problem. And he was like, well, do you hold them accountable? And I kind of calmed down a little bit. And he said, accountability is the highest form of love. And if you've ever, I hate to say this, I'm going to use this in a non-sexy analogy, but if you've ever loved an addict, you know what accountability is. If you've ever seen somebody at their bottom and you have to help them pick themselves back up, that is holding them accountable. It's telling them you can't keep doing the same things over and over and over and expecting the same results. And how many people feel like they do that in their business? They set off the year with great intentions, but when they actually look back at what they did that year, did they do the exact same things they did the year before? How did they move their boss forward? So as a leader, it's my job to hold you accountable and tell you things that you don't want to hear. So that is what accountability means to me. I truly took that to heart that day. It was life-changing. Now, sometimes to a detriment. I also came home to my team at that time and I was like, all right, I'm sorry, holding y'all accountable. And I thought that meant that I was now a warden. That is not what accountability looks like either. Accountability, and that's why I asked, what does accountability mean to you? And you need to ask yourself that question. For me, it's I want somebody to tell me when I'm doing things right and when I'm doing things wrong. I want somebody to say, hey, think you could have done a little bit better. I think you could have prepared more for that. Quit putting so much, quit putting so much on your plate. It's a double-edged sword we all run, especially in this industry, because we are on 24/7 hours a day.
It also helps people when they're on their low to remind them,
Yes.
hey, remember you're doing this to reach this. So it goes many ways.
Yep. I had a conversation with somebody today and they're like, I feel like I need my butt kicked. And I was like, okay, how about this? If things don't change in 90 days, you're out. And they're like, and it hurt me as much to say it as it did for them to hear it.
Well, I feel like, I mean, it's a matter of a truth of the business.
Right.
And I think that there's also a matter of encouragement that comes with that accountability. It just is the way you present it. But I mean, even because like I said, you're encouraging them, even though it's a very blunt way of doing it, to, hey, look, you've got to change. And, so I think that accountability and encouragement kind of run hand in hand, even though sometimes it hurts to encourage them in that manner.
Absolutely. So again, when I say jokingly, I came back and I was a warden, that is the truth. I thought, okay, I found out about accountability. Now I need to make sure y'all know about it. But accountability looked different to each person on my team. Some people want to hear it. Some people want to say, give me 90 days or tell me I'm out. That works for some people. That doesn't work for everyone. So that's what I said. What does accountability mean to you? For some people, you got to love them through it and they need to feel supported through it. And so figure out, because now you're going to have to hold yourself accountable. So you need to figure out what is your own love language with yourself for accountability. What is truly motivating you to do? And I'm just going to still ask you for a second. What is going to motivate you to do all the things that are on this list? And mind you, you can't do everything every day, but you can do a little bit every day. So that's one thing I love about the 12-week year is it helps you break things down into incremental bite-sized pieces that show you you're moving the ball forward. And it shows you how much you can actually do in a shorter amount of time. So on the EXP New Year kickoff, if anybody watched it on Friday with Brent Gove and Tina Call and Leo and Glenn Sanford, Brent Gove gave this example. He was in the real estate industry in 2008, which was real fun for those of y'all that were not there. And he said, I was a fairly consistent player. I was doing 2 to 3 deals a year. Well, when the market overcorrects by 75%, there's nowhere near the amount of clients to work with. And you're really having to dig deeper than you ever have. And so he said, I was literally out of money. I was down to my last dollar and I had to figure out what I was going to do. He said, I gave myself 30 days. I said, either you make this happen in 30 days or you're going to have to go get a full-time job. And I committed to myself. I committed to everybody that knows me. Hey, the next 30 days are pretty much going to be hell on earth, but this is what I've committed to. I'm going to figure it out. He said, I set a goal of 30 homes. I was going to sell 30 homes, put 30 homes under contract in a month. Who would love to sell 30 homes in a month? Yeah. He said, I did an open house every day. Every day I led with intention. I started my day calling anybody and everybody. I let them know how important this goal was to me. Now, by letting people know how important this goal is to you, do not call and be like, I ain't gonna make my bills this month if you don't buy a house. That's not what anybody else wants to hear. Find out what's motivating them. You know what they want to hear? The deals that are out there for them. You know what they want to hear? Why it's a good time for them. So I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole. All I know is he showed up and he did the work for 30 days solid. Do you think he closed 30 homes? No. But he did 14. Who would be happy with 14 houses in a month? Right. So he said, I learned at that moment that if I truly stayed focused and committed to what I said I was going to do, there was truly nothing I could accomplish. And I feel like that's what this industry did for me as a whole. I came from the military where somebody told you what to do all day, every day. Going from the military to entrepreneurship is literally like going from black to white. I mean, I was really good not having to make decisions. I tell people I thought I was going to be a lifer. I loved being told what to do. I loved knowing to toe the line and where the line was every day. I could do it. So when I got into being an entrepreneur, I was kind of thrown into it because I had a full-time job with a builder who decided It's 2008. We're not building homes anymore because nobody's buying them. I had to go out on my own and figure out how to do it. At the same time, my husband was losing his job. At the same time, I had a 2-year-old on my hip. I had no other option but to figure out how to do it. So I kind of put myself in the same mindset of Brent Gove. I didn't have an option. So if you wake up every day with the same intention of, I don't have the option of not putting food on my table, doesn't that change your mentality? I don't know about y'all, but most of the people in here are not getting a paycheck from somebody else that just says, thanks for showing up. Nope. As an entrepreneur, the best part about our job is we put ourselves out of business every day we do our job. The worst part is we put ourselves out of business every day that we do our job. So you have to wake up with the same intention regardless. So all that to say all that, I want you to think of your goals that you have for this year. And it sounds crazy to think that any one of those goals, well, let me rephrase that. Does it sound crazy to think that any one of those goals can be accomplished in 3 months? If 3 months doesn't sound short, does 90 days sound short?
Yeah.
Right. So do you have any goals right off that anybody wants to share that says, you know what, I've got it on my annual goal, but show me how I can break it down into 3 months? Anybody?
I mean, all,
Health, personal, professional, go ahead.
Make a commercial sale.
Okay. So what, have you done commercial before?
I'm learning commercial.
Okay, fantastic. What is your favorite part of commercial real estate?
There's no hard, fast rule.
That's with any real estate.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I feel like it's more, I don't know, it's just more, there's more to it.
Okay.
There's a lot more to doing it. I mean, it's not, a couple of months of showing a house and then 30 to 45 days to close. It's totally different.
Do you know what commercial real estate deals happen quickly? I started in commercial, for the record.
Well,
Didn't like it.
leases, but I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if that's where, like, I have a woman who's looking to do a lease and she wants to do it next year, but I'm trying to think how could we get it to where it's moved up quicker? Because I don't know if it's going to actually take a year or if it will take her a year.
Well, I'm glad you started there because that's where I was going. One of the quickest, fastest ways in commercial money, it may not be, in commercial real estate, it may not be a lot of money, but commercial leases. Now they can be in depth, especially if you're negotiating upfits and things like that. There's a lot that goes into it. But I want to take that and spin it too, because not everybody wants to do commercial. What about residential rentals? How many people do we know right now are looking for rentals? Do you have any idea how many leads come in our team every week and they want help with a rental? I have 5 people I know personally right now. One just again this morning on Facebook. Can you help these people find somewhere to live for this price? If you don't have any clients to show a house to right now, who can you be showing a house to? Who cut their teeth on renters? I mean, it didn't matter who you were. If you had a pulse and you wanted to go look at a property, I was just happy that I was getting more proficient at working a lockbox, to be honest, because I hate a lockbox and keys. They hate me too. So for me, it was like, you know what? I'm in the car doing something. You know what? I can take a picture and put this house on Facebook. Nobody knows that it's a rental. Nobody knows that my client that I'm working with is a tenant. And you know who's very, very grateful when you get them in a rental and then one day they want to buy? That tenant. And those are some of your best built-in clients. So if you're saying I have nobody to work with right now, go to one of the 4 bazillion Facebook groups and look at how many people are looking for a rental. Look at how many people comment every time a house is posted for rent. There is some clients right there that you can start on. And they're going to be so grateful because you know what most real estate agents do when you call and say, hey, I'm looking for a place to rent. I don't do rentals.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have any idea the Facebook messages I got that are desperate? And they just said they're not looking for a $500,000 shack. They're like they can pay between $1,500 and $2,000 a month. That's not a small, you know what I mean? And yes, the problem with our market is rentals don't really pay, unfortunately, but you can also negotiate that. I got 3 sitting right now in Clayton that are townhouses. If you bring us a tenant and they're renting from anywhere from $1,800 to $2,100 a month, we'll give you $150. And if you want more than that, ask. It's more important to me that I get a renter in there. So always feel free to negotiate. So I want you to start thinking, what are small things I can be doing right now that will make a big difference in my goal? But I'm squirreling. So think of your goals. And I'll just give you one of mine. So mine, it starts as a big goal, which is to get healthy. Doesn't just say lose weight. It says get healthy. That is my broad goal. Does a part of that mean lose weight? Yep. So what did I define? Exactly how much I want to lose. I want to lose 10 pounds. Do I realize that part of my goal, because I want to get healthy, also includes working out? What happens when you work out? Muscle weighs more than fat, so your weight goes up. So am I tying myself that I'm accomplished my goal of being healthy just because I lose 10 pounds? No, I can stop eating carbs tomorrow and lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks and it'll be fine. Did I get healthy? No, that's not the point. The point is I have a list now of lose 10 pounds. I went and met with the boot camp people and I said, measure me. I want to know what my measurements are. I want this many inches off my waist. I want this many inches off my legs. I put a picture of Carrie Underwood's legs. I'm not that tall, but I want to feel like I have Carrie Underwood legs being 5'2". So I'm visualizing these goals and I'm putting them down. So do you think I can become healthy in 90 days?
Yeah.
Ish. I can definitely make some healthy changes, but some of those things I can measure and make happen within 90 days. I can't have Carrie Underwood legs in 90 days. If so, we would all have Carrie Underwood legs. Let's be honest. So what I did was I took that big goal, and I said, what can I do in 90 days that would make a big difference in my overall health goal? I can make sure I close all 3 rings every day. Do you know what happened as soon as I set that goal? The freaking Apple Watch stopped working. Kid you not. Do you know what I wanted to use that as? An excuse. Well, my Apple Watch isn't working. I guess I need to scratch that goal. Nope. You know what I know? Even if I can't measure it on my Apple Watch, I know if I walk 3 miles on my treadmill. I know if I went to burn. I know if I ate a bunch of crap that day. So are there days that sometimes I may not do as good as I want to? Yep. But do I also know that I better make up for it the rest of this week if I'm going to stay on track? So this is what I'm telling you. You need to break these goals down so small and then figure out which part of this can I expedite. So again, that's a very broad one because you can't just become healthy in 90 days. But what pieces of your business can you break down and think, if I focus on this so hard, I know I can make this happen? So like Brent Gove, he wanted to sell 30 homes. He did an open house every day. Do you think he had buyers at those open houses every day? Do you think he posted on social media that he was doing that open house?
Yeah.
Do you think he used that time to follow up with clients? Do you think it was because he had that hyper focused, vigilant time? That's the reason he accomplished those goals, not because 14 people came in his open houses. So I need you to change your mindset that it's not about what the overall outcome is, but what is happening every day that's compounding to make those changes. So some of the best tips and tricks in this book, and if you could tell, there's highlighted post-its, all the things. And like I said, I recommend everyone reading this. And like I said, they've got a great Facebook group, they've got challenges, all kinds of stuff. Find you an accountability partner, because if you tell it to yourself and you're not good at holding yourself accountable, what's going to happen with that goal? And you're going to be here in 2026 going, I'm going to make it happen this year. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to, and like I said, me using that healthy goal, it's a very important goal to me, but it's not my number one goal. I've got other goals that are number one, but I'm just kind of using that as an example. So, you got to be emotionally connected to your goal. So not only the what behind it, but the why behind it. Do I look healthy on the outside to most of y'all? Yes. But does my whole family fight obesity? Absolutely. Does my whole family fight a lot of other issues, health issues, just physical issues because of their overall lack of good health? Yes. So it's important to me that I try to stay off medication. So again, my why is tied to something much bigger than how I look in my clothes. It's tied to when I'm 60 years old, when I'm 20 years older than I am today, I want to be getting around just as good, if not better. So that is my emotional why. When I have parents who are younger than most people's parents and look and act so much older, and it's because they didn't take care of themselves for the majority of their life. So emotionally tie yourself to each one of these goals. For instance, I have a goal of reading a business book every month. I've already made my list. I've wrote down which books those are going to be. And then I've also sprinkled in personal books. I want to make sure that I'm just keeping my brain going at all times, because if we don't, it's Murphy's Law is Murphy's Law for a reason. Things in motion stay in motion. Things at rest stay at rest. How many people say once you see somebody retire, they go downhill quickly? And it's because they stop staying in motion. So understand your emotional connection to each one of your goals, not just your transactional goals. And I need you to stop thinking of a year as a year. You need to break everything down into quarters. And I have been saying this for years. When I make my goals, for instance, I've got take 2 trips with Abby. One of those is girls trip, one of those with Brian. I've already emailed her and I said, hey, Think of 2 places you want to go this year, because I'm already planning which quarters can I fit those in. I'm already booking off time on my calendar. I already know I'm taking off between Christmas and New Year this year, and I've already booked it so that I don't get into the rut of, well, we didn't make time to get away and goal set. We didn't make time to do this, because life will happen if you let it happen. We've all learned that much too often. So, redefine your year, break it down into quarters, so you have 12-week chunks constantly. See, throw out annual plan, did that, confronting the truth. Who needs help time blocking? Okay, let's talk about that. Why do you need help time blocking? I'm looking at you because you sighed the loudest. Everybody in here sighed, but you sighed the loudest.
So, like, I feel like I have so many things at one time, like coming at me and things to do, and I can be working on a particular project or a client, and I'll get a distraction. I'll call it a distraction, and it throws me off, and then I have so many, it stacks me up, and then I have so many other things to catch up on, and that time blocking it's so hard. Also.
Well, and we are in an industry where people are trying to grab our attention all day, every day. And you can go from everything's fine to everything's on fire real fast. But you have to be the firefighter. You know, every fire is important to a firefighter, but the first thing a firefighter does when he gets to a fire is what? Assess the situation. So the same thing has to happen with every interruption. And listen, this world is filled with distractions. That's why we have to guard our time with our life. So do you get up at the same time every day? Do you have a morning routine that you stick to every day? Perfect. So from then on, how do you plan your day?
From then on, I do my start my lead gen.
Mhm.
Well, I'm on the call first. I look at the pivot sheet, then I start my lead gen, and I do that for about, and I like to at least call 10 people and get that out of the way first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
Messages or send emails or do whatever I need to do with them, and then after that, I'm following up with my clients from previous days, whatever I had left over to do from them, which is mostly showings. And now I have a client where the seller backed out of a deal and my buyer is like livid. And she wants to know her legal ramifications, what she could do. So I want to call with the attorney, and
Yep.
he's trying to like this.
These are the fires we speak of that
Yeah.
that pull our attention, whether we
Yeah.
like it or not.
Yeah, so
So
because she's calling me every day. She called me last night. She wants to get the mess.
do you plan your week in advance? Do you plan your week at the beginning of the week?
Not. I would say no. I do it daily. Maybe like every
Mhm.
night I'll do it to see what my next day is gonna look like. I've been doing it daily, not weekly.
And this is why it's so important that you're looking forward and figuring out where these blocks of time are, because we also have to fit in family time. We also, like, it was astounding to me. I don't know why I've never heard it or thought about it, but there's 170 hours essentially in a week. We're supposed to be working 40 to 50 of those. Does everybody in here feel like they're probably working 40 to 50 hours a week? Right. So then we sleep for another 50 or so of those, 50 or 60 of those. That's still another 60 to 70 hours left in the week. Does that not hit anybody else and go, where is that time? When I heard that on Friday when they were talking about it, I was like, I definitely don't feel like I have just an extra 50 or 60 hours hanging out every week. So where is that time? And then I realized it's when we get home in the evenings. It's when we're doom scrolling. It's when we wake up in the morning and we take our time. It's when there's a lot of extra time. If you start thinking like, literally, what am I doing with my time right now? It's amazing how quick those hours add up. Like when we're doing income producing activities, it seems like time drags by, and we can account for those times. It's the time that we're not doing anything that we're like, where it just seems like it went out the window.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really crucial that you are blocking certain times. So the 3 buffers that they talk about in this book, hold on, let me get to my notes, is the strategic block. This is when I first read the book, I was like, 3 hours. Yeah, I could totally do 3 hours. And then it's like, wait a minute, like 3 solid hours? Like the second time I went through it, I was trying to do it. I was like, maybe this is a little harder than I thought, because it's not necessarily supposed to be in work time, and it's supposed to be your strategic time. So it says a strategic block is a 3-hour block of uninterrupted time that is scheduled into each week. During this block, you accept no phone calls, no faxes, no emails, no visitors, no anything. Instead, you focus all of your energy on pre-planned tasks, your strategic and money-making activities. Strategic blocks concentrate your intellect and creativity to produce breakthrough results. You will likely be astounded by the quantity and quality of the work you produce. For most people, one strategic block per week is sufficient. So I feel like of the 3 blocks, this is one of your most important blocks. And this is something that no one taught me and I did not learn for way too long. And I constantly worked in my business and did not work on my business. So that is one of my biggest rocks and my biggest tactics for this year is to not only have that strategic block, but just have as many strategic blocks as I can in a week to make sure that I'm focused on these things that I am moving forward and they are getting my undivided attention. Now, this sounds so hard to do. 3 hours uninterrupted. So when I was going through this with somebody else today, they're like, when do you do that? Mine is Saturday morning. Saturday morning, it just feels like Saturday morning cartoons. The world slows down a little bit. Some people are off at soccer games. Some people are doing this. I'm an empty nester. I have nobody in my house. Saturday mornings, I can get up, live at my pace, have my coffee, and have uninterrupted time. Nobody is coming to my home office and knocking on the door. Very few clients are just calling out of the blue to check in on statuses because it's Saturday morning. So that is a time that works for me. And the inside team will tell you, sometimes they get a lot of emails from me on Saturday mornings. I'm like, I don't expect you to work on this right now. This is me brain dumping. This is me moving my balls forward in a very uninterrupted time. So if you don't do anything but schedule a date with yourself for 3 hours a week to figure out what do I want out of my business? What does this look like? That is the best advice I can give you is to make that time to move, to focus solely on what things do I need to move forward in my business? And that's what that is how you're pre-planning what you're going to do the following week to make sure you're working on your business and not just in your business. The next one is a buffer block. Buffer blocks are designed to deal with all of the unplanned and low value activities like most email and voicemail that arise throughout a typical day. Almost nothing is more unproductive and frustrating than dealing with constant interruptions, yet we've all had days when unplanned items dominate our time. Who has had a day where you feel like you worked yourself slammed to death and then at the end of the day you're exhausted and you cannot think of one thing productive that you did? Unfortunately, that is our world as entrepreneurs and especially in real estate because everybody's hair is on fire all the time. And so I've been telling my team, and I was like, do not take this personally, but we are not moving some of our rocks forward because the inside team is constantly getting stopped. And we are here for our team 24/7. They know that we don't take days off. All the things. I said, but I'm putting whiteboards up on the outside of our office. And if you come to our office and the door is shut, you can put your name down on the board. And we have times of when we'll be done with our blocks of getting our stuff done that we will be available to you. Obviously, literally, if the building's burning down, we need to know that that is an emergency. But it makes people pause and say, is the question I'm getting ready to ask them so emergent that I need to stop them for what they're doing? Everybody's got those people. I feel they're called got a minute. They walk by the office, you got a minute? Pop their head in, got a minute? And it's the same thing with text messages and phone calls. Most of those are got a minute. So to guard your time that way, one of the best things you could do, is turn on do not disturb when you're having your strategic block time. And for those that are uncomfortable with that, which I totally understand, you still get notifications, but at least it's not that constant like buzzing, dinging, whatever. You can see if it's emergent and you need to touch it. The other thing you can do, if you don't automatically have your auto responses set up on your text message. So when somebody calls me, if I'm not available or I'm not talking to them right now for whatever reason, and you're allowed to have your reasons, if you're in the middle of getting stuff done, it's okay to not answer the phone. I automatically hit the text button. It says, I'm in an appointment. I'll call you back as soon as I get done. Or I'm on the other line. I'll call you back as soon as I get done. Pretty much every phone call that comes in, if I'm in one of these modes, they get that response. It automatically lets them know you heard them. You saw that they're there. You get it. And you'll get back to them as soon as you can. So you've responded, which takes that anxiety away from us that, oh my God, they called me and they're going to think I'm ignoring them. Nope, you responded. They know you're not ignoring them. They know you're in an appointment. If somebody tells you they're in an appointment, don't you go, oh, okay, thank you, I'll wait. Automatically, if you're standing there in front of them, you'd be like, absolutely, I'll wait. Same thing happens on the phone, believe it or not. So then when I'm in my buffer blocks, that's when I'm calling people back. Do you know what 9 times out of 10 happens when I'm in my buffer blocks? I'm calling people back or texting them back. They figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
Or they responded to my text and said, I just need to know this. Perfect. I already know what they want now. And now I've saved myself 2 text messages and 1 phone call that said, what were you calling about? Oh, did you need that? Because now they've told me what they needed, which then tells me what needs to happen next. So you see how you're setting this chain of communication off that is protecting your time while also helping out your people and the people that need you. So, have your buffer blocks to return phone calls back. And the other thing I love to do is when I'm responding back and letting them know I get back to them, when's a good time to connect. So you keep from this back and forth, back and forth. Now they know they're important enough that you're setting a time on the schedule for them. And in the meantime, they're still going to be working on figuring out what it was they were calling you for. All right, your next block is called your breakout block. One of the key factors contributing to performance plateaus is the absence of free time. Very often, entrepreneurs and professionals get caught up in working longer and harder, but this approach kills your energy and enthusiasm. To achieve greater results, what's often necessary is not actually working more hours, but rather taking some time away from work. Not by chance that people often quote the famous proverb, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. When we don't take time off from work, we can lose our creative edge. An effective breakout block is at least 3 hours long and spent on things other than work. It is time scheduled away from your business, but during normal business hours. Who else got anxiety from hearing that? Like, I really feel like if I get caught in the store on 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, people are like, oh, you're not working? But do you think anybody's like, when we meet with them at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, they're like, you work so much. No, it doesn't work that way. So we just got to let them think what they want to think. We know how hard we work. At the end of the day, we know we're getting our stuff done at the end of the day. It is time scheduled away from your business during normal business hours that you will use to refresh and reinvigorate your mind so that when you return to work, you can engage with more focus and energy. If you're not in control of your time, you're not in control of your results. So one of the biggest things I can give you today, if you learn nothing from me and nothing from what to do with your goals, an easy 12-week goal is to start implementing how to protect your time. That's one of the first things you can do for yourself. Protect your time. Start figuring out what it means to work on your business instead of just in your business. Does anybody have anything they're like, I've been meaning to do that for a month or for years or whatever, and you just haven't made the time to sit down and figure out how you're going to do it? Now you have that time. I just gave you 3 hours back a week that you can at least figure that out. And now let me say, tailor this to you, like with the breakout blocks. I don't necessarily need 3 hours. I use my 3 hours differently as my self-care time. I get my nails done, and I get my nails done during work hours. I get my lashes done. I get my lashes done during work hours. I get my hair done typically during work hours. And the reason for that is because I'm on call 24/7. So why am I going to spend my family time doing things that most people have to do when they work an 8 to 5 because they're accountable to somebody else, but they get to leave it at work when they go home at the end of the day. We don't get to leave it at work on Saturdays and Sundays like they do. So we have to take that time for ourselves during the week. Now, don't miss important meetings and stuff like that to get your lashes done. I'm not saying that, and don't say April said. But what I'm saying is make sure that you are scheduling that time. Otherwise, you will have burnout. And I can tell you what burnout looks like, and it is not fun. And it makes everything you do not feel worth it. And who has been in this business when it felt not worth it? And who's been in this business when it has felt worth it? And you want to stay in a place that has felt worth it. And I'm not saying you have to close 30 transactions a month for it to feel worth it. It feels worth it if you feel like you have a good work-life integration. Quit using the word balance necessarily. Most things never balance out, no matter how you look at it. But how can we integrate it to where it does feel right? So make sure that you are putting those blocks down to work on things. In this conversation, has anybody thought of anything tactical like, I need to plan a breakout block for this, something that we can break down and try to make it happen in 12 weeks. Okay, I'm just trying to really make this tactical for those that want to hear tactical examples. Sorry, are there any questions on, I've been doing all the talking now, so I feel like, are there any questions of y'all? Anything you don't feel like? What is typically your biggest pitfall with accomplishing your goals?
Meetings.
Okay. Can
I
you
mean, just being honest.
elaborate?
I'm not gonna pick on today, but I will pick on today because I love, okay, and here's my struggle. I love what I do, right? So we do our Bible study at 9 in the morning.
Then we have this at 11. And I think that they are both very important. I enjoy both of them, but it's 2 hours out of my morning that I didn't get stuff done. And so now I'm trying to like catch up in the afternoon. And then, and it's not, I'm picking on these two things.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I mean, I had to take my dog to the vet yesterday. Somebody, got to meet for some meeting here or there, it just seems like, and the worst part for me personally, and I know most people are not like this, but I'm an empty nester. I have no children to get to school. It is just me. So like everybody wants to have these meetings in the morning. The mornings are my productive time. The morning is like when I'm creative, I'm motivated, I'm ready to get stuff done. My meetings in the afternoon, like after that time. And so I get really frustrated, like with, with, I don't know, let's just say top producers.
Mhm.
If they want to meet at like 9 or 9:30 in the morning, I'm like, geez, it's another morning that I can't.
Right.
All right, so that's my rant.
No, you're good. No, I appreciate that. And those are examples that I know a lot about. So the number one question is, first thing, why are you going to 9 o'clock, which is a Bible study? And why are you going to the 11 o'clock, which is training here? Okay. So they're not wasteful just because you're not doing, I'm not saying you were saying they were. I'm just saying you got to get back to the whys of things that we're doing. So now I look at it as a superpower. So now I have to stay hyper focused for the rest of the afternoon because I spent the morning feeding myself. I spent the morning feeding my soul. I spent the morning getting myself more educated on things that I need to know to help better myself. So now I know I have to protect my afternoon with my life. So you better believe my door is going to be shut all afternoon. Because same thing, I was speaking at 8:30, I had a 9, I had a 10, a 10:30, and now an 11. So for the rest of the afternoon, I'm protecting my space and my door is shut. I've got more meetings too. The reason afternoon meetings don't happen is because most people are not in control of their day. And when things pop off, everybody loses the fact that that's a priority when we know they were supposed to be priorities. And if you had already done your blocks for the week, granted it's only Wednesday, but if you'd already done one of your blocks, let's just say you'd already done your breakout block, spent Monday getting your nails and your hair down or whatever, and you feel like I've had my time to rest, you got to be grateful for that time and understand now it means I'm going to have to make it up somewhere else in the week. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why we have to create these spaces and know that it's okay that I don't answer my phone for 3 hours this afternoon to say, how's your mom and them? I need to make sure that I'm staying hyper focused on my lead gen, on my this happening and my that happening. And I guarantee you, because now you do have less time, you're going to be more efficient than if you had 3 days. You could do more in 3 hours than you could in 3 days because you have to. If you don't lead gen, you don't eat. If I gave you 3 days to do it, when would you probably start?
Relax on the third day.
Listen, I am that person who I do well under pressure. Unfortunately, Justin saw that for several years as our project coordinator. I love to wait to the last minute something and throw something together. Stresses him out. Stresses a lot of people out, but I thrive. I now my adrenaline, I got a dopamine hit. We're making it happen. Let's go. It stresses most people out. I know that about myself, but I also know that gets me through. It doesn't move my rocks forward. So that's why I have to make extra time to make sure I am planning time to say, okay, that was great. We pulled it off. Next time, how can we make it better by avoiding doing so much at the last minute? So that's why I'm saying if you have a tendency to procrastinate, you have to be hyper aware of that and make sure that you are protecting these blocks of time. So this afternoon, what do you have planned?
Nothing till fire practice tonight.
So it sounds like you have plenty of time to get any and all lead gen that you can. You're frustrated right now because this has got you encouraged to go and knock out a bunch of goals. And you're like, crap, I've already lost 4 hours. No, you're going to work twice as fast this afternoon because you spent the time this morning pouring into yourself. And that is the whole point is it helps relieve some of that entrepreneur guilt that we all feel when we get to take off and go somewhere. And I mean, y'all, and I still don't to a degree. For the longest time, I would never post when I was out of town. I never wanted my builders to think that I was not here to answer their phone calls and do this, that, and the other. That's not healthy either. When my dad was in the hospital pretty much every month for 2.5 years, very few people knew about it. And it was because I saw it as a weakness. I didn't want people knowing that I was working my butt off from the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't want, how many times have you heard, well, I know you've had a lot going on. I know you've been busy. I didn't want to bother you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is the entrepreneur guilt that we just have. And it's something that we unfortunately have to
Yep.
deal with. So that's why I feel like as long as I've set expectations and I'm meeting my expectations, guess what? They don't care if I'm gone for 3 weeks as long as their houses are sold under contract and I've updated them on what's going on. They care less where I am as long as my stuff's getting done. And that's what we have to remind ourselves. But if we dilly dally most of the week and then try to knock everything out one day of the week that we plan to knock everything out, that is when the fires happen and all the bells start going off. And now you're like, well, I didn't get anything done this week that I'd accomplished. So now I'm going to take you back to thinking about your goals that are on your goal list. What is something you could commit to today? Break it down and on the worksheet, let me find it. They've got some great worksheets. I can, we'll put them in the
Is that
Facebook group.
the book when you order the book or?
You just go to the website,
You
anybody can go to
download
the
that?
website. Mhm.
Okay.
The 12-hour work week or the 12-week year. So for instance, the example they use, it's Susan's goals and plan. She wrote down 3. You can do anywhere from 3 to 5. Don't do 10. That's a lot to try to accomplish in 12 weeks. But I took my overall goals and I picked some and then I said, these are most important to me. And some of them are just fact finding. Some of them I'm just determining in the next 12 weeks how I'm going to make sure I accomplish this goal for the rest of the year. Does that make sense? I'm taking this time to make sure I'm putting all my tactics together and implementing them. Because the problem with a lot of us, we can come up with the idea, but we don't actually make the time to sit down and implement all the things. So she put she's going to achieve 62,000 in production and acquire 1 million under management. So essentially she's going to do $1 million in business and it's going to make her this, da da da. Her tactics. So on this spreadsheet, it says, you know, she's got a list of her tactics: schedule and conduct 2 3-hour prospecting blocks each week. When are they due? Each week. When does it begin? Week 1. When does it end? Week 12. And then she marks herself when completed. So one of the other cool things in this book is it gives you like a scoring system. So you're supposed to sit down with yourself at the beginning of the week. Some people say Sunday night, some people say Monday morning. It depends on who you listen to. I'm more of a Sunday night person because by the time my feet get up on Monday morning, I'm ready to go. So I need to have planned on Sunday night and not try to plan on Monday morning. Whatever works for you though. Give yourself scores or give yourself what is what I'm trying to, your grades or whatever. How many points? That's what I'm trying to say. How many points you're going to allot to each thing and what your score needs to be at the end of this week. And the book goes a lot more in detail about that. But essentially she's got scheduled 10 appointments, conduct 2 client interviews, develop a prompter list. And in every one of these, when is it due? And some of them she's got due week 3. Great. You know what that tells you in week 1 and 2? Make sure you're prepared, but you don't have to do this part until week 3, but you need to at least make sure it's written down. So again, I'm going back to you, Haley. You want to do a commercial deal. So that's why I said, what kind of commercial deal? Which one can you do the fastest? The least is probably the fastest. Where can you find commercial clients?
My business currently.
Right. Okay. So she's got a pipeline of commercial clients, but you can also be expanding on that. Listen, I appreciate your pipeline, but I've got a big goal. So I'm going to go try and find people that are looking to lease. There are so few people out there to help people who are trying to lease commercial space. And be vocal about it. Say, I'm so excited, you know, to be in this journey, you know, towards commercial real estate. If there's, let me tell you, the number one people looking to lease, churches and restaurants. You want to freaking look at some space. There's always
Location for a restaurant, if you know. To go to Smithfield.
Gotcha. Put that out there. You will get so many people that reach out. Everybody wants to start their own restaurant. I guarantee they've never been in the restaurant business before. That's why they want to start their own restaurant, which is why food trucks are so important, so popular. Don't get me going down that rabbit hole. But the people that do know what they're doing and they have the money to do a restaurant can be very successful, and they're very grateful to have anybody help them. Because so many times, again, if you've ever listed commercial space, you get a call a day from a church or somebody who's done catering in the past, or they got a bakery, or they've been doing this and this at home and now they want to have their own brick and mortar. Most people just hang up on them, and you have to be that person that keeps those conversations going and figure out how to help them. If they don't have the resources, figure out how to help them get the resources. So all that. So you've got to make time for that, but you've got to start with putting it out there to where you get so many clients. You are now busy working with those clients. So, you know, for me, I would have it on my goals list that I would reach out to other commercial brokers and say, can I market your spaces? You can market any of my spaces. Trust me. I mean, if you're with me, you can market any of my homes, any of my spaces, whatever you're looking for. Please help me get these leased and rented and purchased and all the things. So find ways to increase the amount of people that are going to be paying attention to what you're doing and why you're doing it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Mhm.
And then break it down week by week. Okay, I did that. Now this week I'm going to do this. So then the second part of that is your goal. Her goal was to acquire 1 million under management. So what she's going to do is segment her current client base and identify investment properties. That's due on week 1. And then she'll give herself a score when she completes it. Meet with a minimum of 1 investment prospect. She's going to do that each week, starting on week 1. So again, just because you set this goal at one point in time doesn't mean like, okay, I did it, it didn't work. Now let me move on to the next week. That's what I hear about networking. If you've ever heard me, I would tell you go network, get involved, do something you're passionate about, and be there for the other people that are passionate about it. The amount of times I've told people to go to a chamber event, go to a home builders, go to whatever meeting, and they come back and they're like, well, I went to one of the meetings. I didn't get 1 lead from it. That's not networking. That's attending a meeting. You need to network. You need to be there. You need to meet the people. You need to talk to people. You need to get on a committee. You need to get involved. You need to let them get to know you and what your purpose is and why you're there to help. You know, it does drive me crazy. Networking groups like B&I is meant to bring a person every time you come, and we only work with these people and we pay to do it. Okay, that's a paid lead source. You can do B&I. I've never done B&I. Mine is more organic. When I show up to chamber meetings or I volunteer on boards, if I end up working with people at the chamber, it's because they've gotten to know me and they know that I'm somebody they want to work with. Same thing with the Home Builder Association. Same thing with JCAR. Any organization I've ever been in. My church, I get so many leads from my church. Do you think I walk in there with a name tag on? No. Do you think I'm on the social committee? I'm in the nursery. I'm a teller. I do this. I do that. I show up. They know me. There's 7 other realtors, several well-known ones in my church. You go to a church where every realtor goes, but you still get business from your church. It is. I mean, I hate to say it, but you still get business from your church, do you not?
Not yet, but I'm working. I've only been there 2 years. They've been
Okay,
there
fair.
50, but it's getting there. But the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
church, yes, I got tons of deals.
And
from
it's not
them.
because you walked around with your name tag, it's because you've got to know people. So networking is a long game, but it's also one that feeds your soul because you are around people that are passionate about what you're passionate about, and they get to know you and trust you that way. So sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent there. And then like she had a personal goal. Hers was, losing weight too. So it's work out 4 times a week, date night each week, read the Bible study. That was her personal commitments to herself. So for the longest time, I had it on my goals list to attend a Bible study. Well, there wasn't one that I wanted to go to. I hate to say it, I loved our church Bible study. It was 7 o'clock on Wednesday night, and I live 30 minutes from my church. Let me tell you, I am the kind of person, when I get home, I want to stay there. I do not go back out. I do everything until it's time to go home. When it's time to go home, I'm done. And so it was either hang out at the office until like 6:45 at night to go to Bible study, to then try to go. It wasn't working for me. And so then I started looking for a morning Bible study. Well, there's a lot of great Bible studies in the morning, but you know what they're for? Mother's Morning Out. They're all 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, my business is already up and running by 10 o'clock in the morning. There's no way to just stop by 10 o'clock. So I kid you not, for years, I had on my goals list, go to Bible study, go to Bible study. And I used the excuse, I looked, I can't find one that works for me, until finally God was like, you can start one. You can start one. And we started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and learned that was way too early for a lot of people. But now we're at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going strong for 4 years. And so now that's off my goals list. It wasn't easy to do, but made it happen. So there's always a way you can take these excuses off of your goals that we tend to find throughout the year. Anyway, sorry, I saw that and it sent me into another tangent. And all of these can be different. So she has several of these, like start week 1, end in week 12. So going back to my goal of being healthy, I've got certain number of times that I have to do yoga once a week. Yoga would keep you out of the chiropractor. I have back issues. Yoga solves that because everything's connected to your spine. Don't get me started on this tangent either. That is considered a workout because I'm doing something to keep my body healthy. Then I have a goal to go to burn 3 times a week. Then I have a goal to walk a certain amount of miles. And every week I'm tracking those. And so far I'm behind this week, if I'm being honest. But you know what? I still got tonight. I still got Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday for I have to start all over. So there's no excuse not to get in the rest of these workouts that I had planned just because I've had 3 14-hour days, essentially. So all this making sense? Is anybody's wheels turning like, oh, here's the thing. Here's the blank one if anybody wants to make a copy of it. So there's a 12-week plan worksheet, and I would recommend you look at your annual goals and say, what can I break down? I'm trying to see if there's anything on yours that I can
it doesn't bother me.
use as an example. So for instance, Ashley's got a lot of great, transactional goals and things like that. One of her goals was for last year. She knows somebody that is tied to Recovery Alive, the really big program in Johnson County, and they buy houses for the people in recovery, and they house them. Well, they use a lot of local real estate agents to do that. And she said it didn't come from a place of transaction. It came from a personal goal. She wanted to be a part of one of those purchases. And so she did. In December, they just had the ribbon cutting on New Year's, and she was like, I'm so excited. That was one of my goals. And it had very little to do with the transaction and everything to do with the purpose behind why they were buying. And so when we were talking about our goals today, I said, you literally have a ready, willing, and able buyer anytime. It's got to be the right property. We know that. Isn't that the case with every buyer? I said, but if I were you, anytime I found extra time, or I would be very intentional that in one of my blocks every week, I spent 30 minutes specifically looking for houses that would fit that, because houses come on the market, houses go off the market. I know she's got herself set up on a search. It's not about that. But if you've ever looked for a needle in a haystack, you have to be on top of it all the time. So in my opinion, when you have a ready, willing, and able buyer like that, that needs to be a front of mind priority. It's a personal priority for you and a transaction priority. So now I'm hoping that her goal is going to look like week 1, I'm going to set myself up on a search. Week 2, I'm going to look at withdrawn and canceled listings that may fit their criteria. Week 3, I'm going to reach out to FSBOs, you see what I'm saying? I know I'm breaking this down, but she's constantly keeping something in line with that goal. And I guarantee you, if she keeps it front of mind, she'll have another house under contract for them in 12 weeks. Because it's just all about finding the right house, like it is with almost all of our clients. But they don't know what they don't know, and we can find things that they can't find. And so, like I said, go through the Facebook groups. The amount of people that are trying to sell their properties themselves right now on the Facebook groups are insane. But there are deals to be had out there. Like literally, I bought I helped my family buy a property for my cousin at the end of the year. It was on a Facebook group. This lady posted she had a lot for sale. And it was like, well, maybe one of our builders can use this. It didn't work. But then I was like, well, my aunt can use this. And what she was selling it for, like, I literally need to have her sign something like, you realize it's worth more. She said, I just want tax value before the assessment.
What Facebook groups are you talking about?
All of them. Oh my gosh, I'm in like 30 different Facebook groups.
Any community.
Any of the Facebook community groups, McGee's, buy, sell, all those.
Yeah.
So many times they are talking about real estate in there. Now, the ones who are like, I need a good realtor, bless their heart. They're getting ready to get just rammed with them. But be in those.
But even some of those have panned out for me, and they'll be like literally like 300 comments on there, and I think I've closed like 2 out of those.
Mm-hmm. And so it's all about, again,
I've never seen someone ask for a
I
realtor.
was trying to think somebody will tag me.
I've seen like phones buy sell trade pages, like stuff.
yeah.
sell, but I've never seen like a house or
One of them
anything.
ended up being
I would just love, just for research purposes, let's call it that, for you guys to go in your local Facebook, buy, sell, whatever, there's so many of them, and say, if you're a renter having a hard time finding a place to live right now, I would love to help. Realtors can help with rentals, and see how many people respond. And how many people will tell you, I've called 5 realtors and every one of them said, we don't do rentals. Again, if that doesn't work in your business, if you don't need that in your pipeline, I'm not saying it's for everyone. But if you have literally nothing to do in your business, doing nothing is not going to help. So what tactical things can you be doing to move your business forward? Every day, and being protective of your time so that you're not just constantly in the hamster wheel. I think the biggest thing I've learned in the last few years, because I did take on another full-time job, is I have to be very protective of my time. I have to be very efficient. And in that, it means that sometimes I don't have time to just chitty chat. And if I do, I make it intentional to say, I had a few minutes and I just wanted to catch up. And let me tell you, that means a lot more than somebody calling you to chitty chat and you being rushed and you not listening and you not giving them their attention. They would much rather you call them when it's your time and say, I had a few minutes and I just wanted to touch base and see how you are. They may not have time, but it matters to them that you called during that time. So we do not have to be Pop-Tarts to everybody who calls us. Yes, as realtors, we should absolutely answer our phone. That is for sure. But if you have blocked off this time that I'm moving my business forward, it's okay not to answer the phone. And that's why I have those autoresponders. Like it rings, I hit one button and it says I'm in an appointment right now. I'll call you as soon as I get out.
Has consistency always been, I look at it and I say, I see consistency come easy to you, maybe.
Mm-mm.
It is not, consistency is like very challenging.
So consistency is all about habits. You have to do it over and over and over until it is now second nature. So the same thing about getting up at 5 o'clock. When I tell you I've tried to be a 5 a.m.er for my entire career, I'm not kidding. Like I used to get on these calls and I was like, this is miserable. I can't get back in bed fast enough. And you know what? It's not the point of getting up at 5, getting back in the bed.
Yeah, I love it when I do it. My problem is like being consistent on like what time I'm gonna go to sleep. Or, you know.
Do you have alarms on your phone? Mine tells me what time to get
Well,
up and it tells me what time to go to bed.
Matt may need to delete because I would have like 8 alarms. I even have one on my watch.
Oh my God, I have 100 alarms.
Yeah, but I mean, not just at 5 a.m. I'm just saying like, okay, even like I'm not consistent. I like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed at 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
You
or
can
whatever.
train your body to do anything you want it to do. If you've ever, trust me, when I joined the military, I did not run. Still not a runner, but if I wanted to leave, I had to run 2 miles in less than 18 minutes, which doesn't sound like a big deal to people. It does when you're 5'2" and your legs run like this. That was a big deal for me. But in the process of 10 weeks, by having to get up every morning and run at least 2 miles, don't you think by the end of 10 weeks I could run 2 miles? It won't easy, but I did it. And you can train your body to do anything you want it to do. And your body starts to crave it. I mean, that's where, don't get me started on the whole wild fit thing and why our bodies crave certain things, but your body gets used to it. And so it's with any type of habit, you've got to do it for at least 21 to 30 days.
And I think, sorry to interject.
No,
real
please
quick,
do.
but having it, I mean, one of the biggest things is I've always heard, especially in real estate, is if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think if you're more consistent, making sure that you're time blocking or having stuff planned out on your calendar, that will help with your consistency. Because even if you do for a whole month, have your whole month plotted out, you're going to have to stay consistent if you are following your schedule, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the easiest way to kind of hold yourself accountable, is having it written down that, okay, here's what I'm supposed to be doing every Tuesday at 1 o'clock for the next 4 weeks. So that's, where your consistency will come in. Now, obviously, we talked about fires in the business and all that stuff that can.
Some things can derail us without a doubt. And I'm not naive to say that that doesn't happen, because it absolutely does. I mean, I had a fire I had to put out when I was in Jamaica. We made it happen, but I had to do it. It wasn't what my plan was. But as soon as I put it out, I went right back to reading and resting and what I was there for and being intentional about it, which was really hard for me. Because if y'all can't tell, I have ADHD real bad, which is a superpower and a curse all at the same time, because I don't feel like I can turn off. And it makes you overwhelmed very easily. But what I've learned is to use it more of a superpower than a hindrance. But it has taken 40 freaking years to be able to figure out how to do that. And so I don't want anybody to look at me and be like, well, you have all this energy, well, you're automatically positive. Well, nope, none of this I was born with. I can promise you that. I was a C student in high school, never went to college, didn't even take the SATs, never took geometry, never took any of that. Like,
So it is possible.
oh, it's possible. I mean, my guidance counselor said, can you not take the SATs because you'll bring down our math average? I'm like, got it. And, seriously, I swear. Well, our guidance counselor wasn't stellar. But anyway, all of that to say, I did not.
I love mine. I have been.
But all of that to say, I wasn't born like this, but I decided a long time ago that if I was going to be successful, it was going to mean that I had to dig and go through things that were not uncomfortable. And I have gone through the spouts of getting up at 9 a.m. and hair on fire and throwing Abby into clothes and running her to carpool and being late everywhere that I was. And I realized for a long time that it's not serving anybody by living that way. And so the only way to counteract that was to find more time in my day and to be intentional with the time that I do have. So like some of my New Year's resolutions, if you want to call her goals, I took a lot of apps off my phone, a lot of apps that I was scrolling or just wasting time on. And if it's not serving me and if it's not pouring into me in some type of way, I'm not doing it. You don't hear me talk a lot about what I'm watching on Netflix, unless it's a documentary or something like that. I can't even get into TV at this point because I have better things to do. Jen and I had this conversation a while back. when I would, and I know we're almost out of time, sorry, but I remember when my mom would get home, she worked at Glaxo for the longest time, and bless her heart, she had to do that RDU drive. We lived off of Lake Wheeler then, but I just remember as soon as she got home, she came out of her heels and she sat down. And from that point forward, everything was a struggle for her. Like it was like, I don't want to do dishes. I don't want to cook supper. I don't want to do this. Again, back to what I said about momentum. So when I get home, I don't sit down and I don't stop until I'm done with what I'm going to do. It used to drive Brian crazy because he'd come home, he got home later than I did. Back before he was in real estate, and he'd be like, I don't want to eat as soon as I come in the door. And I was like, well, when I get home, I start cooking. I start doing this. I start doing that. I have to go ahead and get it done, or I will not be able to sit down until I do, because once I sit down, I want to be done.
That's me. I'm like that too.
And so since I've started getting up at 4:30 for a 5 a.m. call, now I realize I had to back my bedtime up. I used to think being a night owl was a superpower. It's not. Night owl is going to make you more tired the next day. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, I could do it a lot better when I was in my 20s than I can now that I'm in my 40s. So I've learned that about myself, and I've tailored it too. So now that I'm getting up at 4:30, like Kelly's like, don't y'all laugh at me, but I'm in bed by 8:30. I get it now because her body automatically gets her up at 4 o'clock. Now that I'm getting up at 4, I hit a wall about 3 to 4. I know it's going to happen. I know I'm going to get tired. So I try not to plan anything from 3 to 4 that's going to take a whole lot of brain power, because I know I'm slowing down. That's when I get my lashes done so I can take a nap, for the record. It's always 3:30.
Well,
So
the other thing I noticed too about getting up super early like that versus staying up really late is when you stay up late, you're being reactive. Like you're answering everybody else's emails and you're getting things done that other people have asked you for. But when you wake up early, your time is your own. So you're setting your goals and doing whatever you want.
that's why I feel like Saturday mornings are my power hour, because again, I feel like it's on my time and I'm not reacting, because most people haven't even started reaching out yet on Saturday mornings. So anyway, it's everything you can do if you're consistent with it. And being consistent is never easy, for the record. I mean, gosh knows, when I started going to burn and I thought I was killing it, I was like, I've gone 3 times this week and I'm going to go 3 times the next week. And then the next week happened, I only went once, and I still ain't been this week, for the record. So I'm not always consistent, but I also know that with myself, like, okay, like I said, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow I'll be at burn, Friday I'll be at burn, and now my Saturday morning, I'm going to have to sacrifice some of that block to go work out because I wasn't able to do it earlier this week. And that was my choice.
You're gonna be sore.
Like I said, I could have made it happen
Yeah, it feels good.
Good
A good,
sore.
it
It's
is
a
a
good
good sore. It
When
is.
is you getting up on the weekends?
whenever I wake up.
And that's probably pretty early since you're normally getting up.
About 7. My natural body is 7 to 7:30.
Yeah.
That is not
No.
me.
And that's okay.
I know.
This is all about what works for you, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for
It will
you.
change us.
But if you're not making a plan for you,
Yeah,
nothing is going to happen.
it'll change as Kaylin gets older too.
Yeah. Like I said, and I wish I was like this when Abby was at home. Her life would have been so much more calm. But you know what? She's very resilient and very responsible, because she had to be. I won't cook him breakfast in the morning. I don't eat breakfast.
Everybody,
Kid learn to make breakfast or eat a Pop-Tart. I hate to say it, but
me too.
That's how I was.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tell my kids all the time that if you don't make a plan for you, I'll be happy to make a plan for you. Like somebody else will purpose you towards their goals if you don't purpose yourself.
oh yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. And so
There's some things you can recommend too. I know you mentioned you're always on go, you're always doing. How do you turn it down? 'Cause I'm the same way. Like my brain is just constantly, even when I'm done, my day is done and it's getting late in the evening. My brain is still like ideas and working. And how do you turn it?
reading.
Really?
That's the only time I feel like my brain can really focus on one thing. And it does make it hard sometimes. I'm like, I can't get into this book, but it's something you have to stick through. And so figure out what genres you like, figure out what writer styles you like. It was a process for me to figure out, okay, I know, like I'm reading a new book right now because everybody said it was so good. Oh my gosh. I'm still like, help me. I'm on page like 105. I'm like, has it sped up yet? Has it picked up yet? Like,
If I don't like it,
but if you're trying to relax and wind down, if it puts you to sleep, then it's done its job. You
I
should
can't make it through 4 or 5 pages.
I feel like that too. Or the other night, so like Matt, he's in charge of the TV. But I can't read while the TV's on. But also, I don't really care about football, so I'll have my book and I'll hold it, but I don't ever. I can't.
now when
read
I say
any
read-
TV, and then he's there, and then anyways.
I can't read anything productive at night. I can only read fiction. Like, I'm not trying to read productive books. It's only, give me something.
Just get your brain going again.
Give me something to lose myself in and figure out somebody else's life. Or,
Even when we were on the trip, I only got halfway through my book. So that was the book I was holding the other night, and I was like, I'm gonna finish reading this book. And then an hour and a half later, I hadn't read any of the book.
no, I'm not gonna disagree. And figure out what works for you. So end of last year, I'm not really a big TikToker, but somehow my For You page kept putting on these daggone bomb parties with the jewelry where they're dropping the fizz balls. I can watch that stuff for an hour. I am not buying it. I don't like any of it. But for some reason, I care what Rachel just bought. And when I tell you I can just mind-numbingly like scroll that, now that's one of my things I'm trying to give up because I want to read more fiction. I want to keep my brain going on something instead of just looking at friggin' people buy jewelry on TikTok.
Organizer thing where they like bring their groceries home, they put them in the pretty.
Oh, I love
containers.
watching organizing videos. Don't ask me why. But then I go out and spend $200
Then
on
I go look at my
organizer.
bathroom and I'm like, my bathroom does not look like that.
Again, everything in increments. So everything, break it down. So yes, I did have my pantry organized. Yes, I did use some of that stuff. But at the same time, I'm not the kind of person that's going to come home and take spaghetti noodles out of a perfectly good square box to dump them into a square container for the.
For the.
Right.
I don't need to do all that. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah, have you ever been in like the refrigerator? It's pretty freaking awesome.
yeah. So all of that to say,
With our little sourdough starter right there beside it.
It's all the clear plastic stuff.
I have some of them,
Yeah.
but there's some just not good.
Yeah.
The cans are on a rack. It's fine. But all of that to say, take your goals. Look at what your goals are. If you have not written down your goals by the end of this week, I don't want to tell you this, but you're already a week behind. Write your goals down, because if not, the best feeling ever. I literally just saw it pop up on Facebook on one of my memories, and it was like, I just found some of the goals Brian and I wrote down. I literally tucked it away in my wallet, and I think I was just cleaning out my purses and going through to make sure I didn't throw anything away, and I pulled it out, and I was like, and they were our big audacious goals, or what we thought, and I was like, we have accomplished 5 of 7 of these. And it meant something. It was. One of them was buy a vacation home. We might buy a little place at White Lake, but it was our vacation home where I met Justin. And some of our lifelong friends. But the whole premise behind it was, to us, it seemed like a big audacious goal was to buy a vacation home. And all we did was buy $11,000 little camper at White Lake. But it was the best thing for us for 7 years. And Abby has some of her best friends from it and all of that. So your goal may look one way when you write it down, and then at the end of the day, when you see you accomplished it, you're like, well, that worked out even better than I could have ever hoped.
I also think that taking a large goal, especially like some units that we do as real estate agents, and then applying this to it, like, so I want to do 30 units, and that's
Heck yeah, you are.
30 units. But then when I break it into divided by 4, it's only 7.5 for 3 months, which is like, well, that's totally doable, rather than, oh my God, I got to do 30 by the end of the
And
year.
you're making yourself check in.
Exactly.
How many of us in the past have gotten into April and go, oh, well, I need to get going on my goals.
Yeah.
And we've lost all that time.
So having your first goal
I
set
do
already
that.
3 months from now.
Right.
Like I have all my stuff, you see my board and my all that stuff. But I do think I need to find like accountability, a real accountability. Like, is that like we?
Yeah. So in this book, for the record, they're called WHAMs, and we're going to start doing them on our team. They're called weekly accountability meetings. And
I look forward to that. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's great.
here's the main. I'm gonna leave you with the main 5 pitfalls. The reason we fail from hitting our goals. Number 1, your plan does not align with your long-term vision. So I'm not going to go off on that tangent, but if those want to stay, I will. It's all about buying a plane, if you want to know. So pitfall number 2, you aren't staying focused. Pitfall number 3, you don't make the tough choices. Pitfall number 4, you don't keep it simple. And pitfall number 5, you don't make it meaningful. If your plan is not meaningful to you, then you will struggle to execute it. Be certain that you focus on the areas that matter most. And this is why when we ask our team, like, what's your goal? And they're like, I want to sell 30 houses. Why do you want to sell 30 houses, Keith?
Financial stability.
Okay. And what is that financial stability going to cause or create for you and your family? What are you going to do with that financial stability?
Vacations and,
How many vacations?
I'd like to do at least 2
Where are you going?
on a cruise.
Okay. How much is it going to cost?
It's a lot. Both a lot.
Right.
This gave you a great thing though to go.
But those are your tactics.
Yeah.
So I would go as far as to reach out to my favorite travel planner and say, I want to go on a cruise. If I wanted to take my kids and I wanted to go here for 7 days, give me a range of what it would cost. I'm just going to use $5,000 as an example. All right, $5,000. So if I'm going to do 7.5 deals my first 12 weeks, so that I'm just going to go ahead and lump that in with my first 12 weeks. That way, when we decide to take a cruise second quarter, third quarter, it's already paid for. So out of those 7 deals that I'm going to do in my first 12 weeks, I'm going to go ahead and know that my finances will allow me to take of 2 of those checks, I'm going to take fully and fund our cruise fund. Because at the end of the day, and trust me, I did this for too many years. I did not give value to the time I was spending to make the money I was making, to make the memories that were the benefit of why I was spending all that time making that money. Does that make sense? And then your kid's 21 years old and you're like, hey, you want to hang out?
Yeah.
You know, I can't go back and take her on a Disney cruise right now. And I remember the time we did take a Disney cruise, it was one of the cheapest ones you could go on. Is by far, she'll still tell you to this day, it was her favorite vacation. And I don't remember how much it cost, but I can tell you just about every day we spent on that, what she wore, where we went, what we ate. That is what it's about. So you won't, to some of y'all right now, you're thinking, there's no way I can save $5,000 in the first 12 weeks of this year. You can if you're envisioning what your kid's going to be eating on the cruise 6 months from now.
And also you can, if you close 7 units, 3 months.
Exactly. So this is why it's so important to break that down and tie it back to your why. Because the vacation sounded great at the beginning, but it also sounded somewhat unattainable. As long as I close those 7, maybe I'll take that vacation. No, the whole reason you're closing 7 is because you're taking a vacation that you have to pay for. You make it a
It has to be a
non-negotiable.
direct why type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You may help me to break down their goal as to why.
When are we learning when we're doing this meeting thing?
The wham.
Yeah.
Well, you sent me your
Now
goal.
I'm gonna have to hold you accountable for whatever this WAM thing is.
I want you
I'll
to.
go write my name on your board, which I try really hard, and I'm not gonna do that very often,
Wait.
but whatever this is.
One thing, everybody, you will see a post. We are going to be doing a pre-licensing in February. If you could share that post to everybody you know.
I do
If you have somebody in mind that maybe want to get into real estate, it'll be on Saturdays and Sundays starting on February 8th. So basically
Perfect.
1 month from today. And we're just gonna one thing that we didn't do in the past when we scheduled these, we tried it before, it was in a slower time of the year, was we're really gonna try to push it out on social media because that's really one of the only ways to get the word out there about the school and the new stuff we're doing. So
Yep.
awesome. So if y'all could share that, please. And then next week is Pop Buys.
Yep. Lauren Wagner, who's the queen of pop buys.
Yep. So Pop Buys next week.
Creative ways to stay in front of your client.
Here, you can visit April and Fayetteville.
Yes, tomorrow we'll be doing this again at our new location in Fayetteville. Your head wants to explode right now, that's normal.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
I've been worried for a little bit. I'm going to get my mom, I'm taking her, dropping her off, get her haircut, going to the section. That was awesome.
How are you? No, good. Thank you so much for coming.
So I just want to touch base. But you know what? So the deal was the deal that the last deal that I had was KW. So I want to be able to separate from the sooner.
Good, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, not exciting the deal.
Exactly.
Is there anything I can help you figure it out?
Yeah.
Give me a quick rundown of what happened. Let me just help you break it down.
But I do know this is okay. We've done all our inspection. Everything is all fine.
Last
And
year
then
was like
the
that.
seller, she's an older lady out of Lake Royale, Lewisburg. Her deal where she was going to be building her home health.
I'll send you an email. I just wanted to get back.
Say she would have had to. But she just under the impression that
I'll share it too.
I can't backing out because she wants more. She's noticed that the houses are going up in price. Which are really expensive. So she's thinking next price. So she's speaking to the attorney now to figure out something. They where she just put the house back on the market for more money. She, I don't know if there's anything that we don't have that. I've never.
You still listening?
It's right, you know. You know?
So, two folks, the buyer, the seller speaks to the contract, buyer gets to. Yeah.
No.
So what I have done in the past, what I've had done to me is a litigation, the seller wanted to back out. We got an itemized list of everything. So they're entitled to pay your commission. If you've got to sign 220, they're entitled to pay your commission. Whatever the buyer has spent on any inspections, obviously give them your due diligence money, et cetera. When we totaled that up, we kind of presented that to the seller and said, this is your option. You